Cinemavino.
Got the 12-string.
hey,
I
guys.
know, we got a full acoustic sound there. It's nice and lush.
Very strummy.
Yeah, that's what I was going for. Something nice and strummy.
Twice as many strings as we normally get.
Yeah. We're coming at you with double the strings, double the fun.
2 for the price of 1.
We got Sean Jordan.
Hi.
Travis Bud.
It's your boy.
T-Bud.
Your boy.
My name's Todd Wofford. And we're starting off our presidential series. We're getting this out of the way before the election gets really hot. That way we can, talk about presidential movies and not get into the full political season where everybody's sick.
Yeah,
of
by
hearing about
November,
it.
we're just going to talk horror movies.
Yeah, we'll be on Halloween. We'll be a step ahead of everybody.
Yeah.
And then we'll talk about the fun movies
What
then.
the people really want.
So when you're really sick of politics, just check out our Halloween series. But for right now, we're going to look at a whole wide range of political movies.
Unless you're behind on the podcast and then you're listening in November.
Yeah.
Rough choice.
In which case, I'm sorry.
Rough choice.
I apologize.
Welcome deals.
So we are starting out with JFK. This movie will be unique amongst all of the entries that we're doing in the sense that it doesn't deal directly with the president. It's actually focuses itself and completely on the aftermath of his murder. So probably the greatest murder mystery in American history.
I feel like it's not. I feel like this one's pretty solved.
Yes and no. We'll talk about this.
Okay.
We'll debate this because this movie caused me to go on a deep dive as a kid. So we'll get into that here in a minute.
What are we drinking?
We're drinking Pine Ridge Chenin Blanc Viognier. So the reason for this is that John F. Kennedy and
Oh, it's a grassy knoll joke.
that would be
Is it not? Pine Ridge.
I like your style. I really do.
This is a very grassy Chenin Blanc.
I bought this because JFK and Jackie Kennedy's favorite wine to have when hosting at the White House is bubbly. So their favorites were Veuve Clicquot and Dom Perignon, which is obviously, I'm a girl on a budget, so I can't afford that. So I went with something a little more affordable.
This podcast doesn't get enough ads for us to buy that.
No, we need to be sponsored by somebody fancy before we can do that. So
Light. Or
The champagne of that you can't use that.
I was thinking Hormel baked beans. If you guys out there from Hormel want to reach out to me, that'd be great.
I'm a Bush's man.
Yeah.
Can I interrupt the podcast for
agree
a
to
second?
disagree.
Todd, you were in the other room when we began, but Sean says I talk about his hog too much on the podcast. Hog meaning penis.
Right.
Yeah.
Is that... does it come out of my mouth too often?
Well,
Well,
we have to have a furious debate about how much is too much. I mean, you do talk about it, but is it too much? I don't think so.
Is it-
I don't think
Sean's
I don't think
specifically?
I said that you talk about it too much.
No.
I just said you bring it up a lot.
That's like, is there such a thing as too much French silk pie? I would say no.
Do I bring up Sean's hog too much?
No. Just the right amount.
Just the right amount.
Yeah. So,
I feel like I talk about everybody's, crank.
yeah, you
Equally?
do.
I don't know.
You surely don't.
I think that, he ebbs and flows from
I have a
person to
fixation?
person.
It's what I need. I mean, I think I have a fixation, but I need to know if other people also think I do, because
You
then
do.
I need to hide it.
No, you do, but you don't need to hide it. To me, it's like how Alfred Hitchcock.
Follow your heart,
Alfred Hitchcock made one cameo in every movie that popped up. So you talking about Sean's hog about once an episode, just like that cameo. Everybody's going to listen for it and expect it.
All right. Well, I guess this film got 8 Academy Awards, right? Or nominated.
Segueing back to real quick.
8, you say?
So talking about Pine Ridge, this is going to be a little bit kind of it has a nice mineral flavor to it, but it is grassy. Ironically,
It's a little grassy
I think
ridge.
it has like a little bit of a floral taste to it. So it's on the drier side for sure. It's going to be on the crisp side.
It'll make you pucker.
Yeah,
It's a little tart.
yeah. So this is definitely
Tastes like subterfuge.
if subterfuge had a flavor.
It tastes like lies.
This will be handy for Frost Nixon. But yeah, so this is about $20. It's an affordable bubbly if you're looking for something before dinner. And again, if you like it a little more on the dry side, a little more on the mineral, dry, chalky side, it's good. But I think you could also do this with seafood. I think you could do this with a meal. So again,
Now, someone recently told me that you don't like seafood.
I do not.
Interesting.
Yeah, and that was confirmed when we went to Barcelona. We did a seafood cooking class where Barcelona. We tried. I mean,
Seafood.
I had exactly. I'm like Sylvester. I had. We did everything. Squid. We did octopus. We did shark. We tried everything. And I was like, I don't like this.
None of it?
We even did like seafood paella.
Do you just hate the ocean? And lakes? And rivers?
Yeah, I don't like bodies of water.
Huh.
I really don't. It's not my thing.
Huh.
So there you go. I'm like the guy from Unbreakable. I'm like Bruce Willis. It's my weakness. That and snakes.
I never saw that.
Really? You never saw Unbreakable?
Was his weakness fish?
It's water.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah. So there you go.
Was that a Shyamalan?
Yeah.
He did a trilogy, didn't he?
That was it. That was the first one.
That was the first one.
Unbreakable.
And then
and then
Split. And then
Split.
Glass.
Glass. Yeah.
Okay.
Each verse a little bit worse than the one before it.
Interesting.
I enjoyed Split. I finally watched Glass and I was like,
Split was okay.
Yeah.
Split was okay. So let's talk about JFK just a smidge.
got 8 Academy Awards.
Nomination.
No, yeah.
Yeah.
So this was released December 20th, 1991. Grossed $205 million against a $40 million budget. This was nominated for 8 Academy Awards. It won.
Thought you were gonna beat them.
Just keep underestimating you. They won for cinematography for Robert Richardson. The cinematography of this movie is mind blowing. It's so good and so influential. That look of this movie is, you see this in so many movies since then. So many thrillers have copied the look of this movie. It also deploys every kind of film stock you could imagine. You'll see 35 millimeter, 16 millimeter, 8 millimeter, black and white, vivid color, everything, new stock.
Which the Zapruder film was on, like, what, 8 millimeter?
Yeah, I mean, this one looks like it was filmed with a potato. Yeah, it was very rugged.
Well, I mean, those were the days.
Yeah, it was.
So, yeah. Have you seen the Zapruder film?
Yeah, you see it in the movie. You see the actual Zapruder film. In this film, over and over and over, he is very adamant about showing like Kennedy getting his head blown off. But the version you see in this film is the actual Zapruder film. It had not been widely seen up until this
Prior
point.
to this movie?
Because
I've been in the museum in Dallas. I mean,
me too. Yeah, it's quite something. It's
book depository.
crazy. So this also won for
Weird museum to build.
It is.
A guy died here.
And it's weird because it's like the other floors go on with their lives. Like it's office buildings below that. Like, and the 6th floor is where Oswald did the shooting. Yeah. That was Bill Murray's brother playing Jack Ruby.
Yeah, I saw that.
So this also won for film editing for Joe Hutching and Pietro Scalia. This is also incredible editing in a film. Editing is one of those deals. It's invisible if it's done right. The amount of visual information that's packed into this movie is incredible. The amount of cuts and different shots and different characters and different scenes that get interwoven together. It is, you almost have to watch. So I don't know if you guys either of you had seen this before, but it is, you have to watch it several times to appreciate the sheer amount of stuff they cram into this movie. And even at 3 hours, it is a avalanche of information.
And there's a 3.5 hour like director's
There is.
I saw.
There is. And I don't know if either of you guys watched that. You're not missing a whole lot.
No.
It's a lot.
Tell me the director saw this and was like, I could fit more in.
I could do more.
I can say more.
And this was absolutely overloaded with stuff.
And that's what contributed, at least at the beginning, it wasn't making much money. And then they dropped a whole like $15 million worth of advertising afterwards. And that bumped it up. But also the low turnout was just the runtime because they couldn't have as many showing. Because it's 3
I think it was also a CIA psyop.
Yeah, it was a black op.
probably.
They didn't want people to see it. They didn't want people to know the truth.
It's a black bag operation.
That's right.
I will say this has one of the most incredible casts of any movie.
Yeah, John Candy.
John Candy. Yeah. I love that's the first guy you go
And
to.
Vincent D'Onofrio.
Vincent D'Onofrio. I mean, the number of people.
And then the guy that
John
shakes
Candy's
his eyes
character
back and
weird.
forth.
And that's the crazy thing is like a lot of these characters, the actors playing these characters, they're very true to life. Like if you've ever seen like the footage of like David Ferry with Joe Pesci's character, he was a very eccentric individual. But
That hairpiece was awful.
yeah, and but that's you see the
Pruitt
pictures
Taylor
of him
Vince was the guy that was looking at all the trains
from the rail yard. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But
The
you
guy
got
that shakes his eyes left and right every time, or in most of his roles.
He's just got the one trick.
Yeah,
But there's quite a few scenes in this where literally I told my wife, like, everybody in this scene is an Oscar winner. It's like there's a scene where it's like you'll see Gary Oldman, Tommy Lee Jones, Joe Pesci, and Jack Lemmon are in one scene. And it's like everybody in the scene has at least one Oscar. Jack Lemmon's got 2, or had 2. But it's like, but then you have everybody from Kevin Bacon, John Candy,
Kevin
Walter
Bacon, both
Matthau.
of our movies that we watched.
Yeah. Sissy Spacek. I mean, she also won an Oscar for Coal Miner's Daughter. But yeah, just the amount of talent in this movie is just incredible, top to bottom. A lot of people worked for scale. They worked for the minimum price.
Why? I mean, was it
Prestige,
really
I'm sure.
early in their career, or was this
No.
like they all pretty big names at the time?
They were all pretty big names.
Okay.
This was a prestige project of, people were attracted to this through
The world has to know about JFK.
yeah. That's like John Williams supposedly, did the music to this because he was somebody who was affected by the death of JFK. So that drew him to the project. So that's one reason why you see, I think a lot of these people were involved in that for that reason. So yeah, I'm interested to see, real quick, running on the story, I'm interested to see what you guys thought of it, having never seen it before, because this is one of my favorite movies. I loved this movie as a kid. This inspired me to do a deep dive. So I watched this and I wanted to know more, because I obviously was skeptical. I remember my parents saying that some of this movie was fictionalized, a decent chunk of it, but it also blends in real life testimony, real life footage, real life information from the Warren Commission, so it blends in seamlessly. So my middle school, for some reason, had there are 26 volumes of the Warren Commission report. They're like an Encyclopedia Britannica.
It's lengthy, yeah.
Thick books, 26. I believe the 27th is a summary. That's what the middle school had. So I actually checked that out and read it to compare it to the movie.
You were a weird kid, weren't you?
Oh, I was a nerd.
Yeah.
I was a big nerd.
I want to read the Warren
Why are you
report.
saying like it's past tense?
Oh, I'm still weird.
Because now he's a weird adult.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That was a seamless transition. But yeah, I was fascinated to see how much of it synced up. So, and I did a kind of a refresher to see how much I remembered of it. So,
Did the rest of the Warren report get securitized? I'm blanking on the word.
I think in 2017.
Yeah, there was like
or is there some
2017
stuff
or
that's still coming out?
2018. There was something that came out.
In the movie, they
basically-
said it was going to be 2038.
Yeah.
And then I saw online and they said 2029 was when it would get released.
And then,
but then I guess
they
somehow
released some stuff.
in 2017,
Yeah.
some other stuff got released.
So there was a big release the year after this came out. There was a huge release of information
92?
in 92 or 3, yeah, because of this movie. They didn't release everything. They did another big release, like you say, 2018, 19, somewhere in there, because I think the reasoning was they'd pushed it way back, thinking that, well, that way everybody involved in it is dead.
Yeah.
Everybody involved in it's dead anyway. So, pretty much.
Yeah, they kind of overshot how long people lived back then.
Yes. And it was
As
like,
we see everybody smoking a pack of cigarettes every scene of this
constantly,
movie.
yeah. But I mean, that, like you say, that was the era. You watched the Tonight Show with Johnny Carson, some of his classic interviews. I mean, everybody on that show is just smoking like chimneys. So,
I like Joe Pesci just like lighting a cigarette, taking one puff, and then like
yeah,
putting it out and lighting another cigarette.
man, he was excellent in this movie. That was an excellent performance from Joe Pesci, and
So jittery.
and Tommy Lee Jones was also just. I mean, he almost had like a Bond villain suaveness to him.
He reminded me of a Batman villain.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean,
Two-Face.
Which, he was Two-Face. That's probably why he reminded me of the Batman villain.
But I would say everything that I've read, in my opinion, like what actually happened, because to me, having read that book, the Warren Commission summary, it was very faulty. I mean, obviously, this movie goes off the rails in its in its exploration of it, like Jim Garrison, it goes completely off the deep end. But to me, Oliver Stone approaches it with the mindset of a defense attorney, where he doesn't have to convince you of anything; he just has to put doubt in your mind.
He has to make a case.
Yeah. So as long as you doubt, which he did successfully, that's why they released all that information, was because he put enough reasonable doubt in people's minds that was not the case. Mm-hmm. And the Warren Commission is very faulty. So in my opinion, we'll never know what actually happened.
Well, and I also think it would make a less compelling movie if it was conclusively just like, yeah, nothing happened. JFK just got shot by a lone gunman.
Yeah.
Like, that wouldn't be a good movie.
I know a lot of people would critique this when it came out, and then one guy in particular, this is just me reading Wikipedia, was like, yeah, 80% of this is pretty much made up or false. And then I did some other research. I was like, well, wait a minute, what percentage of it is correct based on the 2017 stuff coming out? And they were like, well, they were actually right about a lot of stuff. It didn't exactly give me a percentage of correctness, but they were like, yeah, this is not.
I have listened to a lot of conspiracy content around just JFK and like a lot of other stuff that happened in the 60s. Like, there was a lot that was suspicious going on that I think played into why there was so much, there were so many doubts around what happened.
Yeah.
But I think if you really look at the evidence, I think that it wasn't foul play. I mean, it was some guy shooting him, but I don't think it was anybody from the CIA or from the mafia, anything like that.
That's very unlikely. To me, it's like Oliver Stone.
So much weird stuff that happened.
Oh,
around.
crazy.
It's just like makes everything that much harder to parse out the truth.
And really, it's like, well, the reason why there's so much mystery and intrigue around it is easy to see because literally Lee Harvey Oswald died 2 days after
Oswald!
He assassinated him, and then Jack Ruby died in prison before he could ever be put to trial.
Yep.
And like you say, the guy, Pruitt Taylor Vince, the guy in the real, all these people who saw stuff died. So it's like people who
Mysterious.
yeah.
Convenient.
And again, maybe it's mysterious. Maybe it's just a random coincidence that all these people happen to die in whatever, heart attacks. But it's like, whatever the case is, it keeps you, who knows what happened, because literally all the people who could say something are dead. And so all you can do from then is speculate. So I would say, in my estimation, Oliver Stone's film is about 50% accurate and about 50% just speculation.
A lot of speculation.
Yeah, but the thing is, it blends into a soup to where he blends stuff that's factual into stuff that's speculative.
Well, so what I don't know is how much of the New Orleans Attorney General investigation, how much of that actually happened, and like what's the circumstance around that? Where did it actually happen the way that it played out in the movie? Was there that much like suspicion and intrigue and all that stuff, and like, you know, obfuscation of the truth coming from, you know, random officials in FBI and CIA? And
again, I think there's a lot of truth in that. Again, it all blends together. I mean, Jim Garrison definitely did. He was the only person to bring like a prosecution, and he you know, went after Clay Shaw. And it's like, he couldn't, again, I think the movie demonstrates this too, he couldn't conclusively prove that Clay Shaw had anything to do with it. And, you know, but now, since in hindsight, they've come out with stuff that they prove that David Ferry, Joe Pesci's character, knew Oswald. They're in the same civil patrol unit, just like Pesci says in the movie. There's pictures to prove that. And so they've established that Clay Shaw was in the CIA, and the connection point that they can't put together is whether or not Clay Shaw was Clay Bertrand, because Clay Bertrand is mentioned in the Warren report. He comes up as somebody who Oswald, when he was getting arraigned, for some reason he did a press conference, and you can see it in the movie, he's begging for somebody to come and represent him as his lawyer. Nobody would come forward and represent him, and he's asking for a lawyer. And so what happens is some guy named Clay Bertrand steps up from New Orleans and says, I'll help him get a lawyer. You know, and so he supposedly calls John Candy's character and asks him. John Candy's character testifies in the Warren report, this guy Clay Bertrand. So Jim Garrison found out, well, this guy Clay Bertrand is actually Clay Shaw, who we find out since then was actually in the CIA. So there's a lot of like smoke around that.
Yeah.
Of like, he was in the CIA, he knew David Ferry knew Oswald. So there's dots that can be connected, but there's not enough information to definitely connect them together.
yeah,
So,
there's so much noise around it that it's ripe for conspiracy.
oh yeah.
It's ripe for someone to, you know, have the dotted lines on the board and be pointing at them.
The murder board.
And stuff like the next movie we're going to do, Frost Nixon, doesn't, I mean, because that actually was a massive conspiracy that was unraveled.
Yeah, that was a real one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, was like, that actually involved the CIA and the FBI and, you know, Army intelligence and the White House and, you know, everybody else, you know, working together to keep it a secret. And, you know, big business and yada yada. There was a lot of people that were involved in
Peak conspiracy.
Yeah. And so after that, you think, well, anything's possible if that happened. You know, because we're going to watch All the President's Men, and there's a guy that from the FBI that says, you know, this would have had to involve 49 different FBI field offices and thousands of agents and blah blah blah. It's like the number of people that had to keep that a secret was staggering.
Yeah.
So you look at that, it's like, well, I mean, I guess anything's possible. You know, obviously, you know, Oliver Stone. You got three tiers in the movie. Number one, Oswald did it by himself, and that's period. Number two, you know, he had some of these weirdos he was running around with because he wasn't a lone wolf. He did have a bunch of friends who were rather eccentric and had some crazy views. It makes sense that they might band together and do something.
Or at least like put him up to it, or, you know, encouraged him or radicalized him to some extent.
And everything I read about Oswald suggested he was kind of a doofus. He wasn't somebody that would like instigate something like this. He was a follower. So he would be an easy person to set up. And that's Oliver Stone's thesis, is that Tommy Lee Jones's character was the linchpin of this whole thing, and he arranged it and was basically Oswald's CIA handler. He basically set him up as the stooge, and then 2 days later had him killed. So,
well, and the same thing goes for the Oklahoma City bomber. He was sort of the same way. He was just kind of a douchebag. He was a doofus that was radicalized. He was in various like militia organizations, and he watched Waco happen, and it was like, there are these people that are just fucking impressionable that end up in the middle of history because they're just the fucking idiots that end up acting on impulses.
Yeah.
Not even Gullah Bull, just Gullah Calf.
Yeah, no, he really was. And the crazy thing is, like, there's nothing exceptional about Oswald. Like, he was in the Marines,
doofus,
and the movie brings up valid, true things that he was. At one point, he was a sharpshooter in the Marines. He actually got downgraded because he wasn't that good of a shot. He got whatever the rank below that is. He got demoted as a shooter, and that shot that he pulled off was a circus shot for Kennedy. I mean, using that rifle, the third shot's the best shot. It's through foliage.
I mean, he missed the first time, so.
Well, see, that's the thing. That's the other crazy thing is, like, that reading that book, it's amazing the stuff that they didn't run down. The Warren Commission, that's a high-powered commission of people that are on that thing. And it's like, so they did a classic thing that they say detectives and police do sometimes, where it's like they try to shape the facts around their conclusion rather than the conclusion around the facts. Yeah. It's like, oh, he fired 3 shots and that's it, you know. And it's like, well, you got 7 wounds, just like the movie said. There were 7 wounds to those guys. And so 1 bullet hit the road and ricocheted and hit the guy by the underpass.
Yeah.
1 was the headshot that blew off Kennedy's head. So that means all those other wounds had to have been caused, like they say, by 1 bullet. So, and they've established that it wasn't the zigzaggy magic bullet, but they were lined up in a way that it could have happened. But again, if anybody's ever fired a gun, you know when a bullet hits anything, it's going to smash and get destroyed like a bone.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Well, and the whole thing, the smoking gun, no pun intended, of this guy's argument was the whole back and to the left of, there's no way that Kennedy's head could have moved back into the left if he was being shot from up and back. He would have been going forward, but that's just not how the human body reacts to being shot. Like there's nerves, there's a lot of stuff that happens when you get shot that things move in unpredictable ways. And
one thing that struck me about that was that, and I don't know how much this guy told us to the War Report, but I saw a YouTube thing of the first doctor to treat Kennedy in the emergency room at Parkland Hospital. He was a young guy, and he was one of the first guys when they wheeled him in. Can you imagine the stress of that situation? Like the president gets wheeled in, and he's been shot in the head. And he said that his first opinion was that he was shot from the front. He said, I'm looking at an entry wound here and an exit wound here.
Yeah.
He said that he was shot from the front. It blew out the back of his head, and basically, I mean, this is graphic, but it evacuated his brain out the back of his head.
But he also wasn't given time to do a autopsy.
No.
They took his body away.
Exactly.
Immediately.
That was another thing that muddied the situation, was that there was no, and then the autopsy that was done later was fairly muddied and rushed, and so.
Convenient.
Slapdash.
Yes.
Convenient.
So, anyway.
So what did you think of the movie?
Yeah.
I give it a 10 out of 10. I had never seen this before, but I liked this movie is smarter than I am, because I kept trying to. I am not a great student of history, so I don't know much about this other than this film was very popular and I had never seen it. That's about all I knew.
Mm-hmm. Do you know it was nominated for 8 different Academy Awards?
After I read Todd's blurb, yes. Mm-hmm. I was familiar with the phrase "back and to the left, back and to the left"
from Seinfeld,
and also the mystery wrapped in an enigma, wrapped in a riddle.
Mm-hmm. It's a riddle wrapped in a mystery, wrapped in an enigma.
Mm-hmm. Pertinent little shell of information. But yeah, this it was. As soon as it started giving you all the information, it was like, all right, Oswald was here, then he was here, then he, got married in this place, and he was over in the Soviet Union, and I was backing it up. I was like, hold on, wait, what? Is this all relevant? I need to remember all these facts immediately.
Yeah.
But eventually I was just like, okay, this is kind of we're just playing jazz. I just need to listen to the rhythm instead of
let it wash over.
Yeah, you'll miss some notes, but just keep going and you'll pick up.
Yeah, I was trying to, solve the mystery. I was like, ooh, all right, this is gonna be good. And I was like, you're giving me way too much too early.
Yeah.
But yeah, so as soon as I stopped trying to pause it and go back and hit everything, after that it was all jazz.
Yeah. I feel like you were working on this one for a couple days. We were texting about it the other day, and you were like, yeah, I'm watching JFK. Then the next day you were like, man, I'm still halfway through JFK.
Yeah. Well, I had started it the other day, and then I backed it up and I did the whole thing again today. So, because I kept stopping it. But yeah, for me, this is 10 out of 10. Yeah, I enjoyed it way more than I thought I would. It was great. It like you said, I liked all the quick cuts. It reminded me a little bit of the very end of The Usual Suspects, where the officer is sitting there when Kevin Spacey's walking away, and he's running through everything. The entire Kaiser Sose story, while he's like looking at the bulletin board, dropping the coffee, like it's him, and it's intercutting really quick with all this different. That's how the very beginning of this all felt to me, as they were throwing in all these different clips and all this different information. It was a lovely vignette of information, and so this gets a 10 from me.
Vignette.
One thing that we haven't talked about, Donald Sutherland as Colonel X, or whoever the source that Costner meets in front of the Washington Monument. That's a great performance.
That is a good performance.
As like the mystery, like was it on the X-Files, like the smoking man or whoever, like the mystery guy.
He's the deep throat.
Yeah.
Reminds me of every single Born Identity movie, or any political thriller where they have to be near a park, near some kind of body of water, maybe sitting on a bench.
Yeah.
Well, and that's a good point, is that the CIA at the time was so involved in so many coups and doing so much stuff internationally that if you get mixed up in that much shit, like it's not that big of a leap to bring that shit home and be like, oh wow, the CIA is definitely doing ops domestically, because they were. We know that. We know Operation Paperclip, fucking MK Ultra, all stuff that CIA was doing in America at that time. Alan Dulles was running a huge shop of mysteries that no one had controls over until JFK came in.
Yeah.
I mean...
And then he fired him.
Yeah.
And then
Alan Dulles was a super fucking powerful guy. They named an airport after him.
And then he went on the Warren Commission. He's one of the guys on the Warren Commission, so crazy. So, what did you think?
I think it's about... I give it an 8. It's so long. It's so much to chew on. And I'm very familiar with the material, so to some extent it was kind of a refresher and kind of a drag, just kind of slogging through all the evidence and the discovery of it. I feel like it really lagged at some points and kind of could be a shorter movie, but I also think if you don't know the material, you need it to be that 3 hours. It's lengthy, but it also just feels like Oliver Stone just being like, it's his version of, I want to investigate JFK. I want to get the truth out there. Yeah. And also I'm coming to it, 33 years later, where like a lot of that stuff is out. In 91, I'm sure a lot of that was pretty new information or not publicly available.
I mean, put it this way, it's like
they didn't have history podcasts to listen to.
Nor the internet for deep dives.
Yeah.
But it's like we're further away from this movie than the movie was from the assassination.
Yeah.
Think about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah, it was 28 years after that.
Because
this made me think of the fact that there's the whole 9/11 commission report and about how long until we are going to get like a definitive, I guess, film on 9/11, like a film based on that. They did a graphic novel.
How long until we get a movie about 9/11?
No, I mean
featuring Mark Wahlberg.
I know we've gotten a Nicolas Cage one, and we've gotten a United 93,
which was excellent.
Was it?
Yeah.
Okay.
A bit of a downer.
It was too soon.
Yeah.
But
a little bit of a downer ending, but yeah.
But I was doing the math to see if by like 2029 or 2028 or something we would get, that would be how far a JFK style film about 9/11 would be.
Yeah.
Is if it came out in 2029, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think there's a little bit less mystery around 9/11. I mean, obviously there are conspiracy theories because everything about anything now, courtesy of the internet.
Everything is so online now.
Well, and it's like also courtesy of this movie, because one byproduct of this movie was the original like question everything movement. I feel like this movie helped like lead to stuff like the X-Files, of like, the truth is out there kind of a thing. It's like, that everything can be shrouded in mystery. So literally every major historical event attracts conspiracy theories now.
Yeah, that idea of conspiracy theories became mainstream.
Yeah.
I forgot to say, Kevin Costner's character, Jim Garrison, he wrote the book that this is based off of, and there's actually 2 books.
Yeah.
So I like that. I like that they weren't just adapting one person's book, but they took at least 2 different perspectives plus the actual,
Historical
events of the day to put them all together.
And Jim Garrison, the real life Jim Garrison, plays Earl Warren in this movie. That's the actual.
Yeah,
Jim
one of the
Garrison.
judges, right?
Yeah,
Supreme
Court Justice who goes and questions Jack Ruby. Yeah, that's the actual Jim Garrison. So pretty interesting. And that was the thing, was like there were still a few people alive when this movie came out who could be consultants
Implicated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that this movie probably captures a lot of Garrison's story, but also clearly it's going to be from Garrison's perspective, his bias, because he's involved in kind of steering the movie. It's not only based on his book, but he's there on set. So.
And Sissy Spacek, like everybody, yeah, they just popping out of the woodwork.
Is it Spacek?
Sissy Spacek, yeah.
Spacek? Okay.
Yeah, Tom Lee Jones was nominated for an Oscar. I believe Joe Pesci was too.
The cast is insane.
Yeah.
I like seeing John Candy.
Yeah.
That's
and he strong resemblance to the actual guy. So.
Ed Asner.
Can we talk about
Ed Asner?
his accent though? Kevin Costner's accent?
Yeah.
It's so bad.
Every Kevin Costner accent's bad.
It's
If anything,
so
that's a trope.
Bad.
And basically, Stone wanted, because I think he originally offered that to Harrison Ford, the Jim Garrison role. He wanted a big star at the middle of it that could probably do the box office and help bring people in, but also just kind of a center of gravity that could hold the movie. And then color it, paint around the margins with your Joe Pesci's, your Tommy Lee Jones, your Kevin Bacon, Gary Oldman. Have them be the colorful actors and have him be the center of attention, basically the star. So, his job wasn't necessarily to be a powerhouse actor. It was just to be a movie star. So.
God, he was bad. His acting was good. His accent was bad.
Yeah. He was definitely very impassioned.
As soon as I saw him on screen and he started talking, I did a double take of just ugh.
Yeah.
What is that?
Oh, and we're going to do 13 Days later, which is also a Costner movie. His Boston accent is absolutely awful.
Jesus.
So, it doesn't bother,
Better or worse than his English accent?
Worse. Yeah. And Matt Damon said something to the effect of that, nobody could do a Boston accent for years in film until now people are starting to get better and better at it. So,
From Boston.
Yeah. So I'm a 10. Obviously this is
lone 8.
Mm-hmm. Right. And that's fine. I mean,
fuck yourself.
And I'm definitely curious, if you ever go back and watch it again, if you ever do, I'm curious to see what you think of it then.
Yeah.
Especially I would like to know that for a lot of movies where it's the so-called classics where, you guys haven't seen them, and however you rate them, I'm curious to see what you like, because a lot of them, people have seen them many times, and they get that rating fluctuates or goes up and down with time. I'm curious to see what you guys.
I won't need to see this for another 10 years.
Yeah, this is
and that's fair. It's a lot.
I think Lawrence of Arabia was the one that I watched, and I was instantly just that's great. That's a great movie. Mm-hmm. Tremendous.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And that's unusual. I mean, I think something like The Godfather would probably take you away like that, too. This is incredible.
Yeah. Like Tremors.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's one of the classics.
Or Scanners,
Yeah.
Either way.
Hell yeah.
Ooh.
If you are interested, there's a lot of podcast material I can send you about the JFK assassination.
Oh, I was really hoping you were going to say Tremors.
I kind of was
send you
too.
Tremors
No,
podcast
I'm
too.
good, thank you.
But yeah, so this was a good podcast. I like this. I like talking about this. I've been wanting to do this one for a while, so it's a good way to kick things off.
Waiting for an election year.
Yeah, always. But our movies are going to run the gamut. They're not all heavy, dense movies like this. I mean, we're going to do action. We got drama. We got rom-com. So we got everything. It's going to be good stuff.
Air Force One is the rom-com, right?
It is. It's a love story. Again,
Also
Gary Oldman. Yeah. So I saw Gary Oldman do talking about Harrison Ford on that movie. And I want to say it was he saw Harrison Ford one of the first days of shooting, and Harrison Ford, there was a sign that said no smoking or eating on the set, please. And Harrison Ford was standing underneath that sign, smoking a cigar and eating a sandwich. So it's it's good stuff.
Classic Red Hulk.
Classic Thunderbolt. But yeah, great movies. Only Drunker. We got Sean. I said Drunker.
Oh, classic movies.
We got Sean Jordan.
Hey.
Traz Bud. T Bud. Question Everything. My name's Todd Wofford. And we will see you
and
guys.
to the left.
up and to the left. But yeah, we will see you guys next time.
Bye.